This empty chair represents the addict who died today, not knowing recovery was possible.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to tonight's episode of This Empty Chair for the Addict that did not know recovery was possible. If you're thrown off by the seating arrangement, I am too, because the king is here, and that is his seat. So I got booted over one, which is hysterical, because we don't like grumpy old men.
Well, you're gonna have that anyway.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I'm gonna be going. He's gonna be going. Lou's gonna. You're gonna be here by yourself.
We're so happy to be here. I was so grateful that Lou dragged his sick butt out of bed, and he's helping us tonight. So thank you always, Lou. So we got some numbers for 2023. Am I screaming?
Yeah, you're talking kind of loud.
I think, you know what? I'm not used to drinking coffee this late.
I think Lou can shut up the mic and everything.
Everyone
they can probably hear you anyway. Yeah.
So I have some numbers for the closing of 2023. In Essex County, we had 101 overdoses. This number of overdoses is which the police departments in Essex County responded to. We know there are more overdoses that we're not aware of because people carry the life-saving drug of Narcan, and they don't always call it in or report anything to us. So of those overdoses in the Merrimack Valley, 120 were fatals. Haverhill had 10 fatals, Lawrence had 31, and Methuen had 4. And these numbers are the why we continue at MVP ASAP to fight for your loved ones. We continue with prevention and education and just trying to work with children younger and also family members to really get it across that this is a huge epidemic that we thought would start declining, and it hasn't yet. So just a reminder, every Monday evening we have the Circle of Hope at the Methuen Police Department, and Mr. Phil Lahey and his beautiful wife Fran host that. The first Monday of the month we host Narcan training along with our resource night. This past Monday, we had Lahey Crisis Behavioral Unit there, and I do have to say they did an amazing presentation.
They were fantastic.
They informed our
community.
I stayed
awake during the whole presentation.
I know you did.
I know.
It was pretty awesome.
I was so impressed with myself.
Me too, and I'm sure Fran was too.
Absolutely.
So they came and presented, and our goal is with the resource night is to tell people in the community what type of services are available out there. And this one is a 24-hour mental health crisis line that you can call into. They have a mobile unit that comes to the house. So if you want more information about it, reach out to Phil or myself, or go on any of our Facebook pages of MVP ASAP, Circle of Hope, CARES Initiative, or my own private, and you will see that information. Also, I want to bring attention that January is Human Trafficking Prevention and Awareness Month. And Tuesday, Phil and I hosted an amazing show with 3 survivors of the sex trade industry. And if you weren't able to see that show, it is a must-see. You can find it on Methuen TV YouTube. You can find it on MVP ASAP's Facebook page. You can find it on my Facebook page.
You can find it on my page. You can find it all over the place.
It is just such an educational piece in regards to individuals that get caught up in the sex trade, things to look for, and most importantly, resources to get yourself out of it.
And not only that, not only the fact that they were victimized in the sex trade, but then you add on to the addiction that they also have. So they ended up having to deal with 2 major crises. Yeah. And these 3 young ladies not only beat it, they knocked the crap out of it.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. Absolutely. So in support of Jasmine Grace Outreach, which is the organization that aids women escaping the industry, I will be attending their Saturday event. Our goal is to put 500 bags of toiletries so that when they go out on the streets and they meet women who are stuck in the trade that are not ready to leave, they can give them a bag of toiletries to clean themselves up. And they write a letter in it, like just to give them hope, because sometimes it's just that one word that will give someone hope to say, this is, I can do this as well. And so I'll be doing that this Saturday. 12 to 4. If you want to join me, I will be at the Trinity Evangelical Church, 105 Haverhill Street, North Reading, Mass. If you want more information, you can reach out to Anita at jasminegrace.org or just go directly to the Jasmine Grace website and you will be guided to this information there as well. And that's really all I have. We have an amazing guest with us this evening. Tonight we have Bob Cox. He's a man in recovery and the founder of the Bridge Club in Lowell, Mass. The Bridge Club is a nonprofit organization whose mission is to create a nurturing space for individuals in recovery, create community and a path to wellness. Bob broadened the bridge and added a component for veterans. Thank you, sir. And the Veterans Bridge Back Initiative is a groundbreaking program dedicated to the re-entry to support veterans. It's designed to support veterans who have been released from incarceration within the past 12 months. So with all that being said, welcome.
That was a mouthful you said there.
I
Phil.
know.
And,
So much
you
for the quick
know,
introduction.
we want to hear all about the Bridge Club and everything like that.
Mhm.
But how about you just give us a little history on you
Okay.
and what led you into a program like that?
Okay. Like most of us in recovery, I started drinking early. I'm not going to go through the whole drunkalog. But I thought I was one of those people, like most of us. I thought I had it figured out. I thought I had, I had all the lies. I bought into my own BS that, alcohol didn't affect me like it affected others. And I started right after high school and through the college years. And I got married young. I was able to raise a family. I used to have 4 children. When I was 29, I had 4 kids at 29. Somehow or another through the 40 years of drinking, my wife and my children stayed with me. I'm one of the very fortunate ones on that. Very grateful
That's
about
true.
that.
Yeah.
Because that is in and of itself is a miracle. Should have been kicked to the curb 1,000 times. But I was in transportation management. I was a functioning alcoholic. I started as a UPS driver. I was going to college, ended up leaving school and starting a family, getting married, starting a family, and needed a job. And I ended up at UPS driving and went up into management at UPS, stayed with that company for about 10 years and left there and went to Airborne Express and Airborne Freight and ended up being a district manager for Airborne. But all the time, drinking, hiding it, getting away with it, thought I had it figured out. Thought I was one of those people that thought I could figure the thing out. And, and for a while it worked for me until, all of a sudden it didn't. So the life-changing probably episode in my life was I had left just because I felt the urge that small bit of restraint I had. Like I had one boss in Massachusetts. The next level up was in Seattle, Washington. So I pretty much had the run of the mill and I was at the district level. I could pretty much do whatever I wanted, but just a little bit of structure or restraint was still too much. I felt I wanted to be able to go out and basically live my life the way I wanted. And some of my friends, were pub owners, Irish pub. A couple of guys from Lowell had a pub in downtown Lowell, the Gaelic Club. Another gentleman had retired Lowell cop from Lowell, Jim Gookin, had a place in Drake it. And I would see these guys with all the cash and I'd be like, wow, that was a cool way to make a living. And lo and behold, the opportunity presented itself to open a nightclub in Hampton Beach when I was about 36 years old. Yeah. So I'm like, yep. So, I mean, for a guy like me, a full out booze hound, that was like asking Jesse James to hold your wallet. You know what I mean? And I was like, yeah, game on. And so I had the nightclub for a couple of years and it was seasonal, so it really didn't work. But that's, I was in full bore, right? That's the lifestyle I wanted. That's what I like to live. And I was getting away with it because I figured, hey, look, people are going to think I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to do. I'm drinking, I'm in the environment, and I'm making money. So no one's going to bother me, So I bought into that lie and then ended up at Close of the Beach after a couple of years because of the seasonal issue and moved home and picked up a construction company, started doing some remodeling. I had a 6-person crew, and lo and behold, one day a neighborhood pub in Drake it came available right on the Methuen line. And this was in 2002. And I was like, okay. And so I figured there's a great spot to open an Irish pub. And so that's what I did. And,
Nice.
and we still have it.
What's the name of it?
Coyle's Tavern.
Okay.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
I drive a school bus
Out of that, right behind
out
us.
of the Draken terminal.
Yeah. Right, NRT, you were with NRT. Were you with Trombley also?
Absolutely.
Oh, you were? Okay.
I've been here for 13 years.
Oh, yeah. So we opened in 2002, and and that was, again, I was surrounded by the environment that I wanted to be in, but the thing I was striving for was exactly the thing that was going to kill me if I didn't get a grip on it. And it took me a long time to get a grip on it. I mean, I was a 40 beer a day drinker every single day, 7 days
Is
a
that
week.
it?
Yeah.
That's it?
That's it. I would get up at 6 in the morning, start drinking, and I was a habitual drunk driver. And and I honestly, it's a miracle, and I thank God every day I didn't kill someone, because I would have very much rather killed myself. Yeah. But it got to the point where I was losing control. I would somehow make it home, and I've heard it called everything from alcoholic paralysis to whatever, and I would make it to the house, and then I would kind of like, sometimes I'd just like fall down. And my youngest son, who at the time was in his mid-20s, sometimes he lives with us, and thank God he's a big guy. I was like 280 at the time, and he would find me on the floor, and he would pick me up, throw me on the couch, or if I made it upstairs, he'd throw me on the bed. And for any self-respecting man or woman, that had any inkling of self-respect, that would be enough to say, wow, my son just found me on the ground and threw me on the bed, but I'd go right back and do it the next day, And so, when I realized the end was coming near, I had a couple of close calls, and I had fallen in my driveway, quite frankly. And it was February, and it was dark, and it had rained, and I'm laying in the driveway, and again, I'm on the ground. I can't pick myself up. I get no shot at getting up. My legs just weren't working, and I'm thinking, oh my God, she's gonna pull in the driveway, and I'm gonna be all the lights are out, it's pitch black. I'm thinking just the worst. Oh my God, she's gonna pull in, she's gonna have a heart attack because I'm gonna be laying there. She's gonna think I'm dead. Oh my God. And lo and behold, here comes the lights, and I'm like, oh boy. So she came up and she said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "I'm okay, but I need help. I have to go somewhere. I got to do something. I have to change my life. I need help. I'm gonna die." And I called Mike Miles.
We love Mike Miles.
Yeah.
Woo!
And Mike's been a long friend of mine, and put me in a place down in Florida, the Genesis House down in Lake Worth, Florida.
Nice.
Right outside of West Palm Beach.
Okay. So do you know Ed?
Chachio?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh my gosh, I love him. I'm with him every other Wednesday.
Are you?
He is
I'm sorry.
He does my supervision for my wellness coach certification.
We'll tell him I said hello.
I will.
He'll get a kick out of the fact that we're speaking.
Good Lord, I would have told him to tune in tonight.
Yeah, because you would have.
Yes.
But I ended up at the Genesis House for 30 days, and my first attempt, sobriety wasn't in my plans. I figured I was going to die, a drunk, whether a heart attack or what have you, and people would say, it's too bad. Not a bad guy, nice family, but the way he drank, it figures, and I was okay with that. And but when I got the taste of sobriety, I realized maybe I can actually do this, and I came home after 30 days, got a home group, the Spark of Hope on Mammoth Road in Lowell, Monday through Friday, noontime meeting at Mike's suggestion. And was going to mass every single morning, going to church because that's what I watched my mother do when my dad passed away back in 30 years ago. And so I started to go to mass, and my wife was running the restaurant, so I didn't have to punch a clock. I was fortunate I could concentrate on my recovery, but this thing was still in the back of my mind. I was far from cured, and not that any of us have ever cured.
Exactly.
But after a number of months, and I lied originally. I said I had like 8 months, and I broke out, and I lied. I had like 3, and I kind of weaseled my way back into the restaurant because I originally stayed away, just because I didn't want to be around the environment. And like, oh, I got to come back and help you doing all the work. I'll come in and clean in the morning. And my MO when I was drinking heavy was 6 in the morning. I would walk into the restaurant. I would sign into Keno, another issue. Turn on the TV, some educational program. I think that back then it was Mr. Ed or Hogan's Heroes, and slide open the beer chest and crack a beer. And I would probably, if there was any left from the night before, I would drink 1 or 2 on the way to Coils, which is about a 6-minute drive. It's all I wanted to do. It was part of my DNA. It was like breathing for me, like all of us.
Yeah.
It's nothing new.
But there's different types of alcoholics, because I'm an alcoholic, but nothing like you were.
Yeah.
I was like what you would call a binge drinker.
Yeah.
And then I may not have a drink for A month.
Yeah. No, that wasn't me. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't remember any periods, literally, unless I was sick, hospitalized for whatever the reason.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember any period of time where I consciously made an effort not to drink.
Wow.
Since I was
Yeah.
17, 18, 16, maybe. But anyway, fast forward, you know, I weaseled my way back into the restaurant, and I remember, and I was doing good, you know, maybe for, let's say, a few weeks or a month. And it was funny because I was sitting at the bar doing the paperwork from the night before, and this thought came to me, and like out of the blue, it was like, I wonder what would happen if I had one beer. You know, literally, like textbook, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know it at the time, or if I did, I didn't want to listen to myself, right? So I bantered back and forth a bit, and I'm like, I'm going to go to AA today at noontime anyway. What's the big deal? So I remember I'm doing it right now like I did, and I was, this is seven years ago. Pushed the bar stool back. I got off the bar stool. I walked around, slid open the beer chest, grabbed a Miller Lite, cracked it, bang, and I'm like waiting to get hit by a bolt of lightning or something, and nothing happened. So I'm like, all right, maybe that's not too bad. So I went back, sat down, finished that one beer, and that was it for the day. And I'm like, man, maybe that's okay. So interestingly enough, 11:30 when I'm normally would be my time to start getting ready and go to Spark of Hope, which is 10 minutes from my house, I had this like feeling came over me. I know it was the disease now speaking to me, but those people are going to know that you had that beer. They're going to think you're a loser, you're not worth anything. Everything that I wanted to hear, I was telling myself,
Yeah.
And so I didn't go to AA that day. And oddly enough, I skipped mass the next morning. So I'm sitting back at the bar, same place, same time. And again, like textbook, right? I wonder what would happen if I had two. So I did. And nothing. So then a couple of days later, literally, I'm up on Route 38 paying for gas. And I went to pay, use my card, and the card reader was out. So everybody was walking inside because the card readers were out on the pumps. And so I walk in, and that's one of the 6 or 7 places I used to buy beer at every single day. And I'm standing in line behind 2 or 3 people, and I glance over at the beer cooler, and I'm like, you know what? If I grab a 6-pack today, I could have 2 today, 2 tomorrow, and like 2 Friday. And I sold myself on that idea. So I grabbed a 6-pack, bought it, went out and sat in my truck, and that thing, I don't even think I moved the truck. I just sucked them all down, and I was off to the races. So it kept me out. It went from, feeling bad about it to dread to self-hate to, if there's anything I need, the last thing I want to do is go near AA because, they're going to think less of me. How come they can do it and I can't? All the BS that I tell you.
It's amazing how we can talk ourselves into thinking we can control drinking.
Yeah, you know what? That's the big lie. And it's got to be smashed. And at that point, I wasn't able to smash it, and I stayed out. I was desperate. I was depressed. I was suicidal at the end. I stayed out for almost 8 months. It was almost an entire year.
Handle that?
Probably buried their heads in the sand. Not their fault. Probably didn't know how to handle it. But I was never abusive. I was like, I was a happy-go-lucky drunk, and I wasn't bothering anybody, I thought. So at that point, I couldn't even reach out and ask Mike for help again. I got so desperate, I picked up the phone and I called the clinical director at the Genesis House, Steve Adams, who is a friend of Ed's. Yeah. And I said, Steve, I'm in a bad way. You got a bed for me? And he's like, yeah, come on back. So I went back, and I'll tell you honestly, and this is the game changer for me, because I was, as I said, I was suicidal. I already had it figured out, and I probably didn't have the cojones to do it, right? Quite frankly, but I was in that mindset. And so I'm back in Florida. I'm drinking on the plane because I know it's my last hurrah, right? That's what we all try to do. And I get there, and I'm, going through the DTs, and I'm detoxing and whatever. And it took me like 2 days before I could actually get functional. And I remember walking in to my first AA meeting down at the Genesis House, and no one was in the room. And I walked in, it was empty, and I looked up, and the shades and the promises were on the wall. The steps and the promises on the shades are on the wall. And I'm standing in front of the steps, and I'm thinking, I don't know what to do. I'm desperate. I have no clue what to do. And I've always had God in my life, but it was always a God of convenience for me. Get me out of this, get me home safe, help me. I screwed up, let me find a way around this.
Yeah, we're pretty good at asking.
Professional liar,
absolutely
professional liar. And I'm lying to myself, right up to that point. So I'm standing in front of it, and all of a sudden I go, I got to go back to the basics I got to figure out where I went wrong. So I look at step one, and I look at step two, and I look at step three, and all of a sudden, boom, 1, 2, and 3. This is my spiritual awakening that happened to me right then and there. 1, 2, and 3 come together, and I start to cry. I really did, and it hit me that there's the answer to my problem, right? So I'm talking out loud, tears rolling down my cheeks. I got zero problem telling you this, and I'm saying, God, you're asking me to turn my life and my will over to you. What does that mean? How do I find out what you want me to do? I don't know. Tell me and I'll do it. I mean, seriously, because I don't know what else to do. If I go back again after 30 days and I relapse again, I'm going to take myself out. I mean, I already had it figured out how I was going to do it. I'm not going to tell you because it was a pretty good idea. But, and so all of a sudden the doors opened and people started to come into the meetings. And I wiped my face and I sat down. And quite frankly, I kind of forgot about the conversation I had just had. 2 days later, same room, maybe 7 or 8 guys and a couple of girls sitting there. And one of the counselors comes in. Her name's Arlene. And she says, hey, come on, folks, jump in the van. They had a van. I'm going to take you to an off-site meeting. So we jump in the van and we go to this nondescript strip mall, like in the middle of nowhere in Delray Beach.
Oh, nice.
And it's got like a Walgreens on one end and a Dunkin' Donuts on the other. And in the middle, there's this blacked out building and it just says EDI Club. So we go in and it's set up like a classroom and easy does it, right? So set up like a classroom, sit down. They start an AA meeting. And I'll never forget this man. He was an older gentleman, probably his age now, but his name was Morris. And he was kind of facilitating the meeting. And I was just blown away by the whole concept. What's it doing in the middle of a strip mall, And so when the meeting was over, people were starting to get back in the van. I walked over to him and I said, Morris, do me a favor. Tell me what's the deal here, And he said, would you come in with the Genesis house? I said, yeah. He goes, how much sobriety you got? I said, like 7 days. He says, I got 27 years. He said, let me tell you something. 7 days or 27 years, sooner or later, there's going to be a voice that's been calling into your head. You might be driving down the street, go by a liquor store or a bar you used to drink at. You might go somewhere that you had a great time in remembrance, and all of a sudden you romanticize about the good times. And you know what? And all of a sudden that urge is going to start trying to creep back into you. And at that time, you're in the program, so you do the right thing. You pick the phone up and you call your sponsor. The sponsor's busy. He doesn't know who you're looking for him. So the urge is getting deeper. So what's the next best thing? You call another alcoholic. You're striking out. You can't get anybody, right? So this is getting worse and worse and worse. And you're getting to the point where maybe you're looking for the path of least resistance. How can I get away from this feeling I have? I know how to do it. And it's when that happens, you can walk in this door and there may be a meeting going on. There might not be a meeting going on. There's sure as hell going to be someone here that knows what you're going through that can hand you a cup of coffee. And 9 times out of 10, there's a difference between breaking out and not breaking out. And I was like, okay. So I finished my 30 days at the Genesis house and I came home and I'm scared. I'll tell you, I'm scared. I'm scared to death because I'm not confident in myself. I already proved myself. I buckled pretty easily. And I was afraid, and I'm going to meetings as often as pick up the back then the books, and I'd pick up the book and I'd find one I can make that in Dorchester. I'd make that a Newburyport, and I would go, and I couldn't find anything with consistency like that. So I called Mike and I'm like, how come I can't find anything like the EDI Club? And he said, Bob, they're all over Southern Florida. In parts of the country they have these clubhouses, but they just never caught on up here. It's just not really part of the culture for the recovery community. And I said, Mike, I'm going to look into this, So I called the EDI Club. I asked for the guy in charge, whose name was Jim Armstrong. And I said, look, I was there and I explained the whole situation. And I'm a small business owner, and I'm considering bringing the concept to Lowell, Massachusetts. And he said, if I can help in any way, absolutely. So after like 3 conversations with him, I said, I'm also a hands-on. Can I come down and just see? Because I want to see if it fits into my life. I want to see if I can do it. I want to do it. I want to see it in action. He's like, absolutely. So I went down there, and the night guy at the Genesis, who knows his name is Dave Hicks, who's now my sponsor. I called him because we got along. He's about my age. And I said, I'm coming down. He's like, call me. We'll go to meetings and go grab dinner or whatever. So I'm like, cool. So I went down for 4 days, and we hit a bunch of the Clubhouse, Central House, and a bunch of all the other ones, Triangle Club. And the last night before I left, he said, I'm going to take you to this place in Delray called Crossroads. Okay. He said, it's not strictly AA, or it's not NA. It's everything. It's everything addiction based. It's They have AA, NA, overeaters. They have gamblers. They have Al-Anon. Everything under the sun. Any addiction in the support groups, they support them there. So we went to a meeting there Tuesday night in May or June, whenever it was, and 5:30 meeting. 6:30, I come out and there's like 50 people mulling around outside, and I was just kind of like blown away by it. They're talking about everything under the sun, recovery, baseball, whatever. And this little van pulls up, and everybody looked because it wasn't from there. It was somebody that they hadn't recognized. And people started to get off, and it was all too, like it was an adult and like maybe an adolescent age child. And they walked around the front of the bus and headed to the front door. And I was leaning against the building near the front door, taking it all in. And I noticed the first group of 4 people or 5 people that they came in contact with, the adult said, can you tell me where like the men's room is? I didn't hear what he said, but the guy says, oh yeah. Go down, through the front door, take the hallway. Your first time at Crossroads? The guy says, yeah. Whatever it is you're here for, you're gonna find it. So the other groups of people were listening to the conversation. And as the people were getting on the bus, they were gravitating over to them and like, welcome to Crossroads. Not like, why are you here? Like, welcome to Crossroads. We're glad you're here. Anything you need, you're going to have it here. You're going to find it. And I was like, holy moly, So Dave comes walking by. Is you ready to go? I said, are you watching this? What? I said, look at this. There's a whole recovery community coming together to support these complete strangers coming in. He goes, Bob, it happens here every single day. I said, you know what, Dave? This is what I'm bringing to Lowell. And so it's funny because that's exactly the model that I brought. Mm-hmm. And that was in 2018. And I went the week after I got back and incorporated it.
Okay, we're going to hold it right there.
Okay.
We're going to take 2 minutes, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about your program and the services you provide.
Great.
All right.
Awesome.
We'll be right back, folks.
Haven of Hope is a faith-based 12-step recovery home for women seeking a loving and structured lifestyle to help them persevere over addiction. Our sober living house offers women an opportunity to gain life skills, coping mechanisms, and personal growth so they may return to their home or working field as productive members of society. Haven of Hope's approach is based on fostering a structured, faith-based life with a core component being the 12 steps from the Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, for with God, all things are possible. Contact Haven of Hope at havenofhopemethuen.org or call 978-258-3982. That's 978-258-3982, or visit us at 82 Union Street in Methuen.
Hi there. My name's Phil Lahey, and I do the Empty Chair show here. And as much as Fran and I have enjoyed doing this show, our real passion is with where it all began, the Circle of Hope, my support group for the families of addicts. I learned a long time ago that dealing with an active addict is just too difficult. So we invite you to join our group, the Circle of Hope. Give me a call, 978-886-2949, and you'll see our banner on the show anyway. And give me a call, find out what it's all about. If you don't think you're ready to sit into a group, Fran and I always invite people over to the house, and we sit down, have a one-on-one, and we talk about a plan you'll have to set up, how to deal with someone in active addiction, or just give you a chance to vent. So, if you or someone you know has dealing with someone in active addiction, reach out, give a call, take the first step. I promise you that it won't make it easier, but once you understand what it's all about, you'll be able to deal with it a little bit better. So again, 978-886-2949. Just ask for Phil. I'm always available 24/7. Thanks, and we'll see you on the Empty Chair. Bye-bye.
So welcome back to the second half, and we're going to hear a little bit about the Bridge Club and the services that they offer. And I know this was all throughout
and in
COVID.
particular, the part that you provide for veterans.
Right.
Yes.
Well, I have to give you a prelude to that because one segued into the other. And,
Sure.
and what happened was back in 2018, I had established a board of directors, and Rita Mercier, who's a long-term Lowell city councilor, is very involved with the Salvation Army, and my friend Warren Shaw runs a radiothon for the Salvation Army around Christmas time. So Rita traditionally goes and rings the bell for the Salvation Army outside the Owl Diner, which is a staple in Lowell. So I went up to see Rita while she was ringing the bell. I had to ask her a question about the Bridge Club, and there was a woman standing with her under one of those 10 by 10 pop-up tents. It was a rainy, snowy day, and that woman happened to be Marion Ryan. So I'm standing there talking to her, and she's a friend of Rita's. So Rita introduced me to her, and we started to talk about the connection between people who are incarcerated and addiction. Over 90% of the people incarcerated are there doing part
that I do
to
know.
some form of addiction. Whether it's drunk driving or murder, or you name it, it's some way, shape, or form it's connected to addiction. So we started to talk about a collaboration for anti-recidivism program, and through those talks through the first year, we started to plan different, if we get money, if we could do this, we do that. And lo and behold, in late 21, we found a funding mechanism through the Community Empowerment and Reinvestment Act through the state. Marion Ryan had found it and called me and said, I found this thing. I don't know if it's going to work for us, but take a look at it. But it's due next Tuesday. So I'm like, what? So we look at it, and we had a grant writer, at our beck and call, thank God, who was our recovery coach trainer that we met through our recovery coach program. And we worked through Thanksgiving holiday weekend and got it in on Tuesday of that week. And we got $352,000 to kick off the program January of 22.
Maybe we could borrow your grant writer.
I got him under wraps because he's not done yet with us. We're constantly growing and spreading out. Yeah. But anyway, so that particular program was dealing with people coming through incarceration, or really it had a wide umbrella. Anybody that was touching the criminal justice system. There were posters up like in the courthouse if people are in there paying fines if they needed a job. So we went out and identified 5 Corey-friendly employers that knew people were coming through the criminal justice system. They couldn't pass a Corey, but at the time, COVID was so rampant, and that whole extra unemployment money was keeping people from going back to work.
Oh yeah.
So the employers were starved for help. Yeah. So I'm telling them, listen, we got a huge pool of somewhat trained, in various departments, a huge pool of talent that needs to come back to work. You just got to give somebody an honest second chance at life, like God has given me. Give them another chance to put their lives back together. So some of the companies bought into it. So we started off, we were able to offer, right out of jail, we were able to offer clothing. We would sit someone down and let them know what resources we had for jobs. They would pick, in a perfect world, they would select a job. We would set them up with a job interview. And then we would transport them to the interview and any kind of pre-employment drug screening or what have you that they might have to take. And after which kind of set us aside, once they got the employment, we guaranteed them that we would drive them to and from work for 1 year. Mm-hmm. And we started that in the beginning of 22. We're doing it to this day. And it's opened up all kinds of doors for us. So through that program, we realized, okay, we can give them clothing, we can give them jobs. So we bring them, I think it was the first couple of people that we brought back from work. One of the coaches, one of the drivers who are recovery coaches, said to the guy, where do you live from here? And I said, well, I'm going back to the shelter. Hopefully I get a bed. Otherwise I'm sleeping outside. So it realized people are lying to get out of jail. They're not supposed to be released unless they have a place. But I know I'd like to. I mean, if it means getting out of jail, I would sleep on someone's couch, and that would be enough to be released. But we realized we needed to add the component of housing. So we asked the state to give us a $100,000 line item variation and moved it over to housing. So we were able to accommodate people for 3 months of sober housing, 3 months of market rate housing. And then the realization also came that they're in jail. They can't make arrangements for either one of those two things. So part of that 100 went towards emergency same-day housing. We would house someone in the Best Western in Chelmsford for 21 days. During that time frame, the job would get set up, and we would arrange for more permanent, suitable housing. And we keep adding components. What else could someone need? Well, guess what? Right next door to us is Middlesex Community College. So now continuing education, vocational training through Mass Hire. Those types of things are all part of our offering to people coming through the system. And because we had that training and that ability and that experience, and literally, another God shot, I was looking through some grant possibilities, and I found the HVRP, the Homeless Veterans Reintegration Program, which is broken down into three programs. The homeless veterans, the veterans who are homeless or endangering of being homeless, who are women with children, or incarcerated veterans previously released or soon to be released that are in danger of being homeless. So because of our experience, we were able to apply for and receive the IVTP, the Incarcerated Veterans Transition Program grant. And we got that this past July.
Congratulations.
Well, yeah, it was a huge coup, and it's our first federal government grant because that's administered through the Department of Labor, the Veterans Employment Training Service. So what we did with that is we took basically, so we don't have to repeat it, we took exactly, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? We took the exact program, this is called the Bridge Back Initiative, what I just explained to you, and we named it the Veterans Bridge Back Initiative, and we added components specific to veterans. So for example, we brought Mike Miles on staff, paid salary on staff. Mike is there as a licensed alcohol and drug counselor, licensed clinical social worker in Mass and New Hampshire to run IOPs specifically for veterans at the Bridge Club. We had brought into the fold a peer support specialist from the VA who was in charge of the VASH program in the Lowell area. The VASH program, for people who don't know what it is, it's a Veterans Assisted Supplemented Housing. And it's basically a Section 8 housing certificate for veterans. And it's administered through Community Teamwork in Lowell. So, the VASH program and the connection to the availability of housing for veterans was specific to VASH. So we brought that program on and made it available. We also put a program in that we came up with called Hire a Vet. So we went out and brought in like 4 or 5 local businesses, Jarvis Lincoln Mercury, one of them, Tom Quinn's Construction, local automotive.
Let me ask you something. Now, I know you're providing all of these services, especially for veterans and so forth. How do people find out about it? I never heard about you guys.
Well, you're Essex County.
Well, that's what I'm getting
word
at.
of mouth. So I mean, it's
well, that's what I'm saying. It's there's so many services out there that like yours and like ours and so forth. And one of the biggest problems we've had forever is getting the word out. Yeah.
Well, it's social media like this. It's newspaper. I mean, we don't hide under the covers. I mean, we put ourselves out there every single time we have an opportunity.
I'm at the Lowell Opioid Task Force. I've been there ever since it started. So
the Mayor's Opioid Task Force.
The one Marion runs.
Okay,
so I know
Marion.
Right. And then I was just with Rita at a wedding. Do you know Joe Aniello?
Yeah, he works for the Sheriff's Department.
Yeah, so I just married him and his wife, and Rita was at a guest.
Oh, no kidding.
Yes.
Yeah. She told me she went to that wedding.
Yes.
But to answer your question, it's word of mouth. It's through the Veterans Association. As a matter of fact, we had a woman. Her name was Carly Wilson. She's a social worker for the VA. Works out of Bedford. We found her 2 weeks ago through that VASH specialist, and her job is to track incarcerated veterans through the county and state Department of Corrections and track their release date. She's going to be a huge score for us.
Nice.
Well, and I get that, obviously veterans are incarcerated. Yeah, you have a never-ending supply, more or less. But what about veterans who have addictions and so forth that aren't incarcerated? Do you take care of them too?
Absolutely do. And, to your point, the money through the grant is specific. If we spend money that is not covered under the guidelines of the grant, we don't get reimbursed for it.
So you mean if they're not incarcerated, you don't?
No, that's not what I said. I'm saying if for the money under the grant is specific to incarcerated. We've had a veteran service office inside the Bridge Club since March of 2020.
Okay.
Reason being is the same opioid task force that you just mentioned. Excuse me, I misspoke. It was Mass Hire that was administering a federal grant back in 2020. Trump put a bunch of money into recovery, and it filtered down through the cities and towns, to the states and cities and towns. And we
didn't get our share.
Well, I'm sure you did somewhere. I'm sure Lawrence got some, Methuen got some somewhere along the line.
No, actually we didn't.
Anyway, it was grant. You had to write a grant for it, but Lowell got $2.7 million. It had nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
But Mass Hire had this money, and basically they said to the opioid task force, we're looking for employers to take people on that are in recovery from opioids. We don't even care what they do. We need them to just be able to start going back to work, working 40 hours. It was a flat $15 an hour. It wasn't much, but it was at least something that people would start to get used to getting back into the habit of going to work every day. So we had zero money with this 11,000 square foot building that fell out of the sky for us. And I'm sitting in a meeting with Rita Mercier, and the Mass Hire is doing a presentation saying, we got all these people, we need people to hire people. I'm like, I'll take some. So we hired 9 people from Mass Hire that they paid for. They just showed up to work at the Bridge Club. 4 of them were veterans. So the outreach people from the VA in Bedford were coming up to visit them, when they went on their appointments. And I got friendly with them pretty quickly. And I said, there's one of these guys, Kevin McBride. I said, Kevin, if we weren't here, where would you meet them? Where would you meet these people? And he said, Dunkin' Donuts, front seat of the car. We try not to go to their homes. And of course, I'm thinking this is going to look great on a grant if we can have a connection to the VA. So I said, well, we had too much space. What if we give you a free office? And we're open 7 days a week, and you put the sign on the door, it's yours. So he checked with his boss, Tony Russo, and came back and they took it. And so there's been a veteran service office there for people in recovery. So the sponsors will use it for their sponsees. The VA comes up, connects with the people who are in our community that we serve, which is the recovery community. But all of the resources that we have under the Bridge Back Initiative are available to anyone, that happens to be there. And all of the resources that I mentioned, like Mass Hire, if someone comes in, they're looking for a job, someone comes in, they're looking for IOP or recovery coaches, they get it there for free. We have it available to them.
That's awesome.
That's what we do.
And it is, believe me, I am so impressed with your programs. It's always aggravated me that governments, instead of trying to do some of the things they do on their own, would just instead hand it over to people like your group who actually know what they're doing. You know what I'm getting at? Because, I've talked to various politicians, people in housing, about similar things like what you've done. I talked about, those who go in a sober living home, maybe they can, like Section 8 vouchers or whatever like that. We've talked about going to businesses to hire people, again, that can't pass a query, but maybe you give these businesses an incentive or whatever. And, every time you talk to one of these bright politicians, they're, oh, yeah, great idea. And you never hear
Ties on the vine, right? Yeah. But, thinking outside the box is really what it takes sometimes. And like the Veterans Hire a Vet program, I started to talk about that. And so the local businesses, the deal is the Bridge Club will give a veteran $10 an hour, providing the employer matches it.
Oh, okay.
Okay. We will carry that for 90 days so they can serve their apprenticeship. Pretty quick whether someone's got it or they don't have it, they're going to fit or not fit. And at the end of 90 days, the hope is that they'll hire them on for no less.
And that's what I'm talking about. You're giving these businesses an incentive.
However, you're right. But giving them incentive because we're paying, but there's also a huge tax incentive that goes along with hiring a veteran, and a huge tax incentive that comes along with hiring someone coming out of incarceration that's in reentry. So there's a big benefit. So far, the people that we're accounted and are dealing with are doing it out of I'm going to say the goodness of their hearts, but they get it. They understand that these people need an honest second chance, because everyone needs one every now and then.
Sure.
And sometimes nobody wants most people at least, they don't want a handout. They just need a hand up, and sometimes that ability to just get their foot in the door when otherwise maybe they couldn't makes a whole difference in their life.
I agree. But I truly believe by you giving businesses some kind of incentive, it's a win-win-win. It's a win for you guys, it's a win for the business, and obviously it's a win for the fella who's getting the job.
Right. Exactly right. So, that those types of programs are the Bridge Back Initiative, but the specific things for veterans directly, and we've expanded. I think I told you before during the break is we just put a veteran, for example, in New England Tractor Trailer Training School. Yeah. He's going for his Class A license. It's a 22-week program, and it's 100% paid for through the grant.
Yeah, and that's not cheap anymore.
No.
$12,750, as a matter of fact.
Not cheap
I just happened to write the check the other day, so I know.
Not cheap anymore.
But, to your point, you talk about veterans. Let's talk about veterans for a second in housing. Because we're looking for the people coming directly through the prison system, there's a unit within the Borica House of Correction called the Humvee unit, and it's specific to veterans.
Mm-hmm.
COVID, it was like 50 or 60 people at one point, from my understanding, but COVID kind of brushed it aside or kind of broke it down. So we thought there would be a constant flow coming through there. Anyway, the girl who administers that program, she's a Marine veteran and a corrections officer. Her name is Susie Lee. And she was in the Bridge Club with her people that work for her. And we were talking about, potential people coming through the system. Now, she had one person, gentleman's in his 60s, veteran, soon to be released, within 30 days of release. He had a little early signs of dementia. So he wasn't he wasn't ready or needed to be put into the VA, but he really couldn't be left alone either. So we started to think, where's the program for him? And Mike Miles was in the meeting. And Mike's been doing this for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike's a, veteran himself. So Mike, there's got to be something. There really isn't. There's no in between. So we started to look for, and there's a problem. Let's see if we can solve it. We can't solve them all, but if we can solve it, fine. If we can't, if it was meant to be, we'll find a way to make it happen. So what it turns into is we have, I'm going to change subject right in the middle of this thought here, but I'll come right back to it. But we've been working diligently over the last year or two to get a medically assisted treatment clinic to open a satellite within the Bridge Club. Mm-hmm. And we just in December, finally, it came to fruition. So Trinity Care Associates moved into the Bridge Club. They have 1,100 square feet within our 11,000. The gentleman who owns it, his name is Gene Chisu. He's from Africa. He's a wonderful, brilliant man. But he's got a primary care physician on staff. He's got a psychiatrist on staff. He's got 40 clinicians, a mix of late acts and clinical social workers. But he's within, and he just bought a sober house. He himself is an active veteran Air Force guard. So I said to Gene, listen, why don't we do this? You just bought this house. No one's even in it yet. How many beds you got? 10. Fine. Save those 10 beds, specific for veterans. Let's create an environment, a sober home, if you will, for veterans, but we won't call it a sober home. We'll come up with some other name. But it's a residence where a manager will live, in an in-house manager, like, a sober home, but backed by 24-hour-a-day mental health services, because the medically assisted treatment clinic, their forte is mental health. They can prescribe, there's no medications on site. They can prescribe them, but their forte is mental health. Mm-hmm. So this is a huge thing for us. So this program is probably within 3 months of coming to be a reality, where there'll be a sober home on Bridge Street in Drake, specific to veterans, that's backed by mental health services.
Awesome.
Mike Miles has got PTSD, suicide prevention, 30 years of doing that. So the services, it's not going to happen overnight, but it's starting to happen and come together very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, when you say it's not going to happen overnight, yeah, obviously, because in my day, when my generation, when we were in the service, which was during that whole span of the Vietnam era, mm-hmm. Veterans weren't very well liked or very well treated.
Right.
And so, I mean, I'm thrilled to see finally, over the last 20 odd years, that, they do appreciate the veterans. They are starting to understand what they've gone through and the emotional strain that's been put on them for what they have been through, so that they're actually giving them help. I mean, you guys, but also the VA itself has really stepped up to I mean, because I wasn't too proud to be a veteran when I got out.
I hear a lot of stories like that, unfortunately. Yeah. It's really a shame.
Yeah.
I am now, but I wasn't back then. I was spit on.
Yeah, walking down the streets.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting is that through Marian Ryan's intervention, when we got the veterans grant, she called and said, "Congratulations on the van." She said, would you be interested in meeting Judge Michael Fabry? He runs the Veterans Court in Framingham. And I'm like, I had never heard of a Veterans Court. Didn't know. And you know what? I know a ton of veterans who never heard of the Veterans Court. I know a ton of lawyers who never. My brother's a lawyer, never heard of it. So anyway, through Marian's intervention and meeting with Judge Fabry, they had a problem with the proximity. It's the only court in Middlesex County. Like Lawrence is the only one in Essex County. But the problem is Middlesex County is pretty big, and people just couldn't get there. So where we had the transportation, Judge Fabry said, come into my court and see what you can do, see what you think. So I went and sat in the court for, an afternoon. It's on a Monday down in Framingham District Court. And after the court was over, he said, what'd you think? I said, I heard you say a few times if you had IOP programs, a day program, you would sentence this person to it, but you don't have one.
Yeah.
We could take care of that because we have Mike Miles and we can run IOPs during the day, 5 days a week if necessary at the Bridge Club. The other thing I heard was transportation was an issue. So I said, well, we're situated in Lowell. We're in the northeast corner of Middlesex County. I could see us ping-ponging a shuttle off Route 495, Route 3,
Sure.
128, Route 2, the Pike, down to Framingham on Mondays, having someone stay there, and then bring them all back to the point of pickup at the end of the court
I
session.
can tell you that transportation service is huge.
It's
Yes, it
enormous.
It
It's enormous.
truly is.
To so much so that same day, the judges said, you could do that. That would be fantastic. I said, let me make a phone call when I get back today. And my guess is we could probably turn it on within a few weeks.
Mm.
So I called the Greater Lowell Community Foundation and Jay Lenahan. And I said, Jay, explain the situation. He said, how much you need? I said, give me 30 grand for a van. We have 2 vans now, but they're utilized. And people's start times, you can't really mess with that. So he gave us 30 grand. We went out and bought a used van. And we've been transporting on Mondays to the Veterans Court probably for the better part of 4 months now.
Great.
That's awesome.
And now I've already gone and sat in Judge Gaffney's court in Essex County.
Yeah.
And we're hoping to do the same thing very shortly in Essex County.
Wonderful.
And then we'll move up into Hillsborough and Rockingham and New Hampshire because they have a Veterans Court as well.
Nice.
So it's just filling voids. We just happen to be lucky. There's nothing
Well,
special about it, but
You
When
call
you
it
do the
lucky.
right
I call
thing-
it hard work.
it's
Yeah,
blessed. No, I
and
call it blessed.
Me
I mean,
too.
is what
When
it
you
is.
do the right thing, doors open. So
Without
hats off to you.
question.
Yes,
I mean, God, in my
absolutely.
opinion, God's fingerprints are all over this
Amen.
program,
That's what I
no matter
say.
where
Yeah,
it is.
it makes me wish that if the government really wanted to get a handle on substance abuse, alcoholism, they would go to the people who know what they're doing.
Who knows it better than us?
Exactly.
And we've lived it. We understand the disease. People who have not experienced something else controlling their life,
Well-
why can't you just stop? It's
well,
not
what-
like that.
To
Doesn't
me,
work
the
that
biggest
way.
quality for anyone who's in this racket is the passion you have.
Yeah.
You have it. You got it. Yeah, a little bit. But without the passion, and that's what I'm saying, when it comes to a government worker who comes in 9 to 5,
Yeah.
You've got to be in the battle to understand the law.
Absolutely.
I think you're amazing.
Well, again,
I think I like you.
been blessed.
Yeah.
He doesn't say that about many people.
Well, that's okay.
He doesn't say it about me. That's for
I
sure.
love
You know what? I will. I'd like to take 1 second though, because
absolutely.
I want
Let's
to
talk
promote
about
this. This is actually this coming Sunday.
Okay.
Okay.
One of these miracles that we talked about. I run a meeting on Thursday afternoons, by the way, 5:45 to 6:45, and it's called Miracles. And basically, because even if you talk about God, and I have zero problem talking about my faith in God, and I'm not a religious nut, I'm just pretty realistic that
Just a regular nut.
I can't do most of the things that are happening here. Quite
Yeah, you're
honestly,
just a regular nut.
I'm just a regular nut, I guess.
Before you talk about this,
Yeah.
is the Bridge Club the one across the street from the Lowell Memorial
It is.
Auditorium? Wasn't there one like near on a side street in Lowell that had opened near like a train station?
The Recovery Cafe,
That's what I'm
that's
thinking.
part of the Lowell House.
So that's where the woman that I was asking you about.
Oh, okay.
That's where I
okay.
went to their grand opening.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I
On
go to
William
meet-
Street, right off of Central Street. Little
Yes.
Small building.
Yes. So I've been to meetings at your place.
Oh, you have? Okay,
Yes,
great.
absolutely.
Awesome.
And I lost my mind at your place when I went to a concert and they were trying to charge for me to park there.
My guys are parking cars right now today for the Golden Gloves. I was probably one of them because I would be sick. And you know what? You got to
Lost
do
my
what you got to
mind.
do to keep the doors open. You know what I mean? If it's good. And you know what's interesting, because Peter Jarvis Lincoln Mercury,
Yeah.
owns that building that
Yes,
we're
it
in,
does.
and they're very benevolent and they understand. And I could spend an hour talking about how great of a person Peter and his family are.
No, you can't.
Well, yeah, I understand that. But, I could do it off air. But they had since like the late 90s. His father started charging for events at the auditorium
Oh.
and giving the money to nonprofits.
Nice.
They would just give it. It was a PR thing, but it helped the nonprofits.
Yeah.
So it was a win-win. When we got there, of course, I saw it going on, and I'm like, Peter, you know, we're a nonprofit. If I was you, I would help the nonprofit who's my tenant, make sure he pays the rent.
Yeah.
You know, I want the parking. So that's us doing that, and it's for the Bridge Club. And you know what? Honestly, when it was lean, when really we were struggling, you know, it was paying the rent. It
Nice.
kept us alive. You know what I mean? So, you know, it was a gift, another gift from God. You know, and well, I'll take it. I'll take every gift we can get.
Okay, tell us about this gift.
So one of the gifts, well, our first year we had a fundraising event. It was Person of the Year. So we named Jay Lenahan because he helped us stay open during COVID. We never closed one day during COVID.
Nice.
We stayed open. Greater Lowell Community Foundation would show up with sanitizer and masks and helped us create the environment for people to feel safe. And so we never, knock on wood, we never had an outbreak.
Nice.
100 people in a room
Nice.
during the peak of COVID.
Yeah.
We never had. If that's not divine intervention, I don't know what it is. But we needed a keynote speaker for that event. And I was trying to think, what's a cool, you know, like a popular athlete with a great recovery story. And bang, Derek Sanderson comes to my mind. But how am I going to find Derek Sanderson? Who the heck knows?
Salisbury Beach.
Right? And it's Terry O'Reilly. Yeah, it's Terry O'Reilly. But so anyway, through asking, you know, around, someone said, I know this guy, Jack McGlynn, plays golf with Bob Sweeney at the Ipswich Country Club on Sundays. And blah, 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 blah. This guy went to Sweeney, come blah, blah, blah. Long story short, Derek, I get a call on my phone. Hey, Bob, this is Derek Sanderson. Hey, you're looking for me to, you know, speak in the bank. Give me a call. I'm like, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's a boyhood hero, right? I was 7 years old when he came into the league. And, you know, so Derek, we were able to get him to come up and speak at our first event. And he's 43 years sober himself.
Amen.
And he's got quite the story. Yeah. And he's become a really great friend and a close friend. And I was talking to him today, as a matter of fact, but through his help, the first year after the event, he had gone to a meeting at the Bridge Club the day of the event, came up early. And he said to me after the event, you know, you got the kid, right? Hey, kid, you got something really special. They've been sober 40 years and you got something really special. I want to help you. I get great. Have Bob Sweeney write us a check out of the Bruins Foundation. He's like, I want to do something special. What if I bring the Bruins alumni up to play a game for the Bridge Club at the Songus Arena? I'm like, you can do that? And I won't tell you what he said, but yeah, I believe I can do that, right? And so that was the first year when we had them come up and they played the Lowell Police Department hockey team. And the Bruins enjoyed it. Actually, they all came to Coils after. It's funny because, but they had a ball. And so I'm like, you guys having a great time? Yeah, this is wonderful, blah, blah, blah. So what about coming back next year? So we've established an annual event with the Bruins. So
that's awesome.
The second year they came out, last year they played the Middlesex County Sheriff's Department hockey team.
Yep.
And this year they're playing the Lowell Fire Department hockey team.
Awesome.
And we have reserved the Bruins alumni and the Songus Arena going forward will always be the Sunday of Martin LutherKing weekend.
Nice.
So it's this coming Sunday at 4 p.m. It's a cheap day out. Yep. Tickets are $20, 16 for kids. If you buy more than 10, it's $4 off per ticket. It's about getting people in the stands. The Lowell Youth Hockey Program, the Lowell Hawks, did a mini one-on-one last year between the intermission. They're going to have a larger presence this year.
We ain't got much time. Let's tell people how they can find
Yeah,
out.
how
Yep,
can
they
we
can
find
call the
out?
Songus directly at 978-934-5738. That's the ticket booth. Or you can go on our website, the Bridge Club of Greater Lowell, which is www.bridgeclubofgreaterlowell.org. There is a hyperlink on there that if you click on it, will bring you right to the Songus ticket booth. And you can purchase tickets right through the Songus. That's the only place you can buy tickets.
Okay.
And there are tickets
can you-
available at the gate.
At the gate, so they are. I'm going to put this on our Facebook page,
That'd
so
be
people
great.
didn't catch that. We'll
would be
get that up
wonderful.
so that they can see that.
That would be terrific.
And wow, just wow! Thank you for all of the work that you are doing, because it's beautiful stuff.
It's saving my life and helping other people at the same time. And I think that's the glue that holds the Fellowship of AA together.
agree.
It's service.
I agree, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Anything in our closing?
No, I do appreciate you coming down.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Nothing Cole and I like more than making services known and available.
Mhm.
So yeah, if you're looking for anything, and I've said this a million times, be it Bob's program, our program, any program, give me a call, and if we don't supply it, we'll show you where it is.
Yes, we will.
And that's all I got.
That's it. Just a reminder, this Monday is Martin Luther King, so we will not be having Circle of Hope.
No, we will not.
But if you are in a crisis, you can always reach out to Phil and Fran.
Phil and Fran.
For assistance during that time. Other than that, I'm not sure. We haven't picked a date for our next show, but I just want to
We'll surprise them.
Yeah, we'll surprise you. We'll keep you posted. And again, thank you, Bob, for being here with us this evening and sharing all this information.
Very much
And a
appreciate
big
it.
shout out to Lou behind the scenes, who's not feeling good, but still made it here for us tonight.
Yeah,
So
he's a trooper.
thank you all for tuning in. You guys were all amazing. If you need help, please reach out. Until we see you again, good night and God bless.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Right.